Hey guys, how are ya? This is probably our last video, and this video is called, probably going to be called Immunity. So if you're looking for the video, and you're looking for the video called Immunity, you are in the right spot. Now, in this video, this is the one right after we talked about the lymphatic system and lymph nodes and how they're full of immune response cells. So we're going to look at I don't really want to say the immune system. I know it says immune system right here, and we'll get to talking about why it's not really a system in a minute. However, today we're going to be talking about immunity, and I've numbered my slides so I don't go in the wrong order. So let's take a look at the first thing right here. Today we're going to be talking about immunity, and immunity is any resistance to any antigen or any foreign invader to your body, anything that could cause harm. So that's really what immunity is, and we're going to be talking about how our body defends against antigens or foreign invaders or bacteria. We have here bacteria, fungus, viruses. They're all listed there, and your body is constantly being bombarded by all of these microbes all the time. So your body actually, or body defenses, have two different branches, and those two branches are, let me go to a good color. Those two branches of body defenses are innate body defenses and adaptive body defenses. So the word innate means something that you are born with, or something that you just have. So that's what innate means. And then adaptive means something that's like acquired over time. So in other words, your body has to be actually introduced to it, and then it builds an adaptive defense against that foreign invader. Adaptive is usually the antigen antibody relationship. So as far as body systems go, you have an innate branch and an adaptive branch. So your cells do both innate defense and adaptive defense. So again, if we go down here to slide number 2, remember, innate is something your body just has, something you are born with. A good example of that, just so that you're kind of getting on the same page as me, would be something like your skin. Your skin is an innate defense system. In other words, it protects against a variety of things that could be entering your body and could be harmful to your body. Now, the other branch, remember, is adaptive, and that is usually something like an antigen, and then your body produces over time antibodies to fight it off. Now, if you've noticed here, it has non-specific and specific behind it. Those are, sometimes you'll hear like non-specific defense system instead of innate defense system. Non-specific means that it just takes care of all bad stuff. So it doesn't matter what it is, what kind of bacteria it is, what kind of virus it is going to block that out, or at least try and block that out. Now, adaptive means that there is one antigen, and your body produces one antibody to fight it off. In other words, that's what makes it specific. In other words, if you've heard, like, there's different strains of the flu, it's because, like, you may be vaccinated, maybe you got a flu vaccine, and you were vaccinated against the flu, but you were only vaccinated against one strain of the flu, and maybe you still caught the flu, that's because it's specific. It's a 1-to-1 ratio of antigen to antibody. So those are your two defense systems. And if you look up here, I have a chart that kind of breaks it down for you. Also, I wanted to talk about kind of why this isn't really a system. A lot of times you'll hear immune system, but if you remember from regular anatomy, we talked about a body system composed of organs that all work together to do one function. And the immune system doesn't really have specific organs, and that's what kind of throws it out of the whole system category. The immune system is more just a group of cells that do various immune functions. So it's not really a system. That's why you don't see the immune system included in the 11 body systems. But back to this, the immune system has two branches, like we already talked about. You have the innate defense mechanisms and the adaptive defense mechanisms. So those two are further broken down into the first line of defense, the second line of defense, and then you also have your third line of defense here. So in the innate category, you have your first line of defense that is usually on the outside of the body. Those are things like your skin. Your skin blocks out bacteria, viruses, fungus. It kind of just tries to keep everything out. In other words, it forms a boundary. Another first line of defense would be mucous membranes. Mucous membranes, remember, line things like the respiratory tract and the digestive tract. And what they do is they like trap everything in mucus and stuff like that, and then they also open to the outside of the body. And then you also have secretions from the skin and mucous membranes that can be antimicrobial, and they can block out foreign invaders as well. Now, your second line of defense are things located in this box, and these are things usually inside the body. And they are things like phagocytic cells. Now remember, phago means to eat. So they're cells that actually eat bad stuff. So if you look over here, I have a picture for you. And here is a purple cell. And it's pulling in these green blobs. And these green blobs are bacteria. So it's going to actually take those into the cell and dispose of them. There's also, in your second line of defense, there's these natural killer cells. So these cells float around your body, and if they see a cell that is suspect, they just kill it. So the end. Bye-bye, cell. You also have some microbial proteins that your cells make. Some of them are located in the plasma membrane, and they keep your cells safe. And then you also have the inflammation, and inflammation will protect the surrounding tissue from bacteria or infection. Now, the adaptive defense systems, that would be your third line of defense. So if things get past the first line and the second line of defense, you have the third line of defense left. And these are things like lymphocytes, antibodies. Remember I said, like the antigen-antibody relationship, that's the third line of defense. And then there's also some cells that will produce like antibodies that will destroy cells that are bad. So that's 3. And we did that. Okay, so I pulled this big chart, and this is part number 4. I pulled this big chart from your book, and these are all of your innate body defenses. So if you look at this, it's things like your skin, and this would be first line. So these are all first line of defense, and then starting here, these are all second line of defense. See, it says it right there. So if we look here, your skin, like I said, secretes like acids. You also have keratin, which makes your skin waterproof, but it also provides resistance against chemicals that could be harmful. Your mucous membranes and your nasal hairs, we talked about that. They also filter and trap things that could be harmful. You have acid in your stomach that protects you against things that could get into your stomach. Also, your tears and your saliva contain specific little enzymes that destroy microorganisms. Second line of defense right through here. Remember, these are all inside cells. And these inside cells could be phagocytes, they could be killer cells like we talked about. You also have inflammation, which it's explained right over here, where it actually protects the area from pathogens that could damage other cells. And then you have antimicrobial chemicals that your body makes and your cells make. And sometimes they're in the plasma membrane. And then the last thing that we haven't talked about yet is also having a fever. A fever is also an innate response. It is systemic, and the word systemic means all throughout your body. So it's a systemic response triggered by pyrogens, and pyrogens are like if you have a bacteria cell. They let off these little proteins, and those are pyrogens. And remember, pyrogen, or pyro, means fire, and that's what gives your body a fever. And if you have a fever, it makes it so that bacteria can't multiply, so they can't undergo mitosis. So that would also be a second line defense. So we did that. Let me make sure I talked about everything in 5. Talked about the immune response. Immunology is a study of immunity, so that might be a fun career. Now, something else I did want to talk about, our adaptive defense system is super awesome because it is these 3 things. So it's very specific. In other words, it is a specific antigen-antibody response. It's also systemic, which means that it goes all through your body, and it's floating around in your bloodstream, and anywhere an antigen gets in, your body will take care of it. And lastly, adaptive responses are so awesome because they have a memory. In other words, once you are introduced to something that is bad, your body remembers it. Jeez. Let's try that again. Your body remembers it. And when it does and it sees it again, it wipes it out again. So that's awesome. So we did that. Okay, let's look at this. Now, this is just another thing that kind of re-emphasizes that the immune system is a group of cells that carry out that function, because here are all the microbial cells or the immune cells that fight against antigens. So you have B cells, you have T cells. B cells and T cells are actually programmed in the thymus. So they're like told what their job is going to be in the thymus, and then they're sent out to pretty much produce antibodies and protect your body. Now, lastly, I put this little picture here just so that you guys could see how antigens and antibodies work together. And this also helps show that that response has a memory. So a lot of times, like if you look at this B cell right here, it floats around your body with all the antigens on it. And there's like receptors for those antigens on it. And then what happens is if it comes across that bacteria again, it will be activated and the antibody comes off and it takes care of that bacteria. So there's also some T cells over here that kind of work the same way and will destroy infected cells. So I hope that helps, and I hope you guys are having an awesome day. If you have any questions over immunity, let me know. I would suggest that you read through these. And I would also suggest that you read through these. I know it's a lot of reading, but it will help you do your next assignment. So have a great day, and I miss you guys a lot.